Welcome back to the Distressed Princess. Today I'm doing country Christmas DIYs. And you'll want to stay till the end of the video because I have some special information about a fire safety set giveaway from XTool. For the first one, you'll need a piece of wood. This is a scrap piece of wood from the Dollar Tree that measures 12 inches by about 1.5 inches wide. The Dollar Tree wood pieces are usually pretty rough, so you'll want to sand it down. Then paint all the sides with white chalk paint. Now you'll need some bottle brush trees, and this set came from Target, and you can use any kind of bottle brush trees that you like, but I think it's more interesting if you have a variety of colors. So I'm just standing these little trees up on the wood piece and getting an idea of how I want them spread out. And then I'm going to go back and use wood glue to attach them all to the piece of wood. I wanted the front of the wood piece to say Merry Christmas, and there's a variety of different ways that you could do this. You could cut something with your vinyl cutter, you could hand write it, but I'm going to use the printing on tissue paper method to get Merry Christmas transferred onto the wood piece. So cut down a piece of white tissue paper, and you want to use tape to tape it onto a nice piece of cardstock, a heavier piece of paper, scrapbook paper, just something heavier for it to grab onto through the printer. Then run it through your printer like normal and your words will print on the tissue paper. When it came out, I started to cut it before I remembered. You are supposed to seal it first before you transfer it onto anything so that the ink doesn't run. And the way that I seal it is with just a very, very light coating of hairspray. And now I'm just waving it around to get the hairspray to dry. Then cut out your words. Apply some Mod Podge to the wood piece and gently lay your words in place. And you can use your finger to smooth out any wrinkles. Then brush on more Mod Podge on top and let it set to dry. I love the simplicity of just this piece of block wood and these little trees. For the next one, you'll need this tag sign from the Dollar Tree, and it's really easy to pry off this joy piece on the bottom just using a butter knife to slip underneath it and pry it apart. The front will become the back and will actually be painting on the back side. This is the first time I'll be using this technique, and the first step is to use antiquing wax or any color of brown paint that you like. This will be our base coat for a chippy paint look. So whatever color you want to be revealed underneath should be the color that you're painting on first. After that's dry, you're going to apply some Vaseline or petroleum jelly, and I'm just using a thin coat all over the entire painted piece. The point of this is that when you paint your top layer color, which mine will be white, when you paint your top layer color over the top of this, the top color will not stick where this Vaseline is. So it's easier to distress and make a peely paint look, not just a distressed like sanded look, but a peeling paint look. Once the white paint is dry, you can use any tool at all that you would like to use to scratch off that white paint. And I'm going to scratch off around the edges, and then I'm going to scratch some in the middle, and you'll see me rub my fingers over where the places are that I scratched, and that helps it look like a chippy peeling up paint. And this is just one of the neatest techniques that I have tried in a long time for distressing. Plus, it is the inspiration for most of my DIYs for this country video because it reminds me of chipping, peeling paint on old barns. Once you have it distressed to your liking, then you need to seal it, and I'm using just what I have on hand, which is some clear gloss sealer, and you could use matte or whatever kind of sealer you want, but you want to stop that from peeling anymore. Before we decorate the front, we want to take care of the back, which is still unfinished. So I'm going to use this piece of poster board that I've had laying around, and I've been using it for backings on projects, and I really like it. So I'm just going to trace out the shape of this sign onto the poster board, and then I'll hot glue it to the back. There is a hole at the top of this sign that's used for hanging, and if you do want it to be a hanging sign, then you will need to get something. I just used a nail to poke back through that poster board and recreate the hole that was there. Now for decorations, I'm using this bag from the Dollar Tree, which I've already used the other side of, and I liked the merry and bright on the bag, so I'm going to cut that piece out, and that's going to go onto the wood sign. I'm also going to use this wreath ornament that came from the Dollar Tree. I used double-sided tape to attach the merry and bright, but you could also use hot glue if you want. And I used hot glue to attach the ornament above the merry and bright. Last thing is to put a hanger back on it, and what do you know, but the handle from the bag that I used was a black ribbon, so that's what I'm using to thread through the hole to use for a hanger. The next country DIY is something that we have a lot of here in the country, and that's deer. You got to be careful when you're driving in the country and look out for the deer. This little deer came from Menards. I only paid $2.50 for him, and he is a nice, good-sized deer. But he's covered in this tinsel. I like that he's white, but I just don't like the shininess of the tinsel. So it's really easy to remove this tinsel. Just take your scissors and cut a piece and start unwinding. When I got to his head, I decided to save his eyes so that I could reattach them later. This is what he looks like when he's down to his plastic frame, and I did leave his little silver antlers. And I'm just going to rewrap him with jute string. So I bought 2 of these rolls of jute string from the Dollar Tree, and it did wind up using 1 whole roll, and I'm not sure really how much of the second roll, but not even close to half. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. I just hot glued the jute string down to his foot to get it started, and then I just started wrapping up his leg. And so the way that I did it, I did all 4 legs first, and then I did his body, then I went up his neck, and then I did his head last. He has these little stubby pieces where the tinsel was attached, and if they wind up getting in your way, you can easily snip those off with your wire cutters. And so now the next step is to reattach his eyes and start to decorate. At first I thought I wanted him to be a flowery deer, so I put a garland around his neck and I hot glued some white eucalyptus and some berries on there, which was cute. I didn't mind it, but on second thought I decided I would rather him to be wearing a scarf. So it's easy to change your mind a lot of times when you're crafting. Just undo what you just did. I just cut that garland right off of his neck, and now I'm going to make a scarf. And I'm using an actual scarf that you can find at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut a piece of this off that is just the perfect size to go around my deer. And I liked that this had a fringy end, and so I'm going to cut even more fringes into it and just wrap it around his neck and hot glue it in place. And for a little finishing touch, I added a pom-pom in the middle. So let me know in the comments, did you like deer number 1 or deer number 2 better? The next DIY is making some country ornaments. So I'm starting out with these wood ornaments from the Dollar Tree. So I'm using my new chippy paint technique. So I'm putting on some antique wax onto these ornaments, and I'm using a wet paper towel. And now I'm putting the Vaseline all over one side of the ornaments. And then I'm painting them all with white paint. And I'm not sure I mentioned it before, but for this technique, I am using acrylic paint. I really don't think that it would matter if you use chalk paint or acrylic paint or even latex paint. As a matter of fact, I kind of think that latex paint might work the best of all because I feel like it would peel more, just like it would on home projects that are old and have chippy peeling paint. After the white paint is dry, now it's time to do the distressing. This time I'm using my utility knife, and I'm just going to scrape along the edges, and I'll scrape some in the middle, and I definitely want to do some scraping up near where the ornament hangs because I think that's probably where the most paint would chip off of a real painted ornament. Before I seal these ornaments, I want to draw a design on them, so you'll need some fine tip markers, and it's best to use the brush style markers because remember, this paint is very easily scraped off, so you want a very soft marker. I'm using a brown and a green, and I'm just going to draw some pine needle branches. So it's really simple. Just with your brown marker, draw a kind of curved brown line and some little spots on there where the pine needles grow out of. And then with your green brush marker, just make some tiny little pine needle slashes out from the brown branch. Now that the artwork is on, next you want to seal it. While the sealer is drying, let's make some beads to go on our ornaments. The Dollar Tree is now selling these strings of beads. I'm so happy about it, and it's really easy to color them whatever color you want. I've separated them into 2 jars. I'm going to make some green ones and some white ones. I've put a little bit of green paint and a little bit of water into the jar with the beads, and now I'm just going to shake them up. I'll do the same thing for the other set of beads, and I'll be using white paint, a little bit of water, and these beads will be white. Then pour them out on a paper plate, and as you can see, I used very, very little water so they're not just sitting in pools of water. And ever so often I do like to shake them around so they don't just stick to the paper plate. When the ornaments are dry, now you need to drill a hole in the top so that we can hang them. I cut a piece of jute string and I threaded it through the hole. And if you need help threading your jute string through things, I always like this technique. Just use a piece of Scotch tape and roll the end of the jute string up like the end of a shoelace. Then thread both ends of the jute string through the center of your beads, and I did a green one, a white one, and another green one. Then I made a loop for hanging and tied a knot at the end. The next country DIY is using this sign from the Dollar Tree, which I actually like just the way it is. I really do. But I am so in love with the new chippy paint technique that I've learned. I'm going to use it on this sign and see if I can make it more country. Just like before, I put the antique wax on first. I let that dry. I put the Vaseline on next, and then I added the white paint and I let that dry. And I went back to the paint can lid opener to scrape off the edges, and I scraped off around the words until I was happy with how it all looked. For the decorations, I'm using some glittery eucalyptus. I think they call it frosted eucalyptus, and I got that from the Dollar Tree. I'm cutting off each of the strands so that I can regroup them how I want them, and I used 2 bushes of that greenery. So I have 2 groups of these little pieces, and I'm wiring them together with floral wire. Then I take those 2 groups and wire them together to make a swag. To cover the center where the 2 are wired together, I'm using a piece of burlap. I'm just going to wrap it around the center and hot glue it. Because I never have luck with wood and hot glue, I'm using my Starbond glue. It's like super glue, and it comes with a spray accelerator, so you'll see how it works. It's really easy, and it has been my go-to lately for when things really don't want to stick. So you put 1 part of the glue, which I'm using the super glue part, on the wood piece, and then I'm going to spray that burlap piece with the accelerator, and this speed dries it, and then put the 2 together, and it's stuck. And I still thought it needed something in the center, so I'm adding this clip-on floral piece from the Dollar Tree. Now let's take a look back at all our country Christmas DIYs today. Now, as promised, for all my XTool lovers out there, here is the information for the fire safety set giveaway from XTool. To win the new XTool fire safety set, all you have to do is go to this website that I'm going to give you, campaign.xtool.com/fire safety set giveaway. Enter your email address, and then it will give you a link that you can share. And the more times that you share your link with all your friends, the more chances you have to win. So I wish you good luck, and thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll be back next week with the final episode in our Christmas crafting series this year. If you want to see more Christmas crafts, just click this link that I provided for you right here. And until next time, bye.